Welcome back to Tough Love with Dr. John O'Connor. Today's podcast is all about staying sharp and locked in the fourth quarter. So as I was looking at what was going on approaching the fourth quarter, I realized that I was starting to kind of fade and fizzle out a little bit. And I needed to refocus and repurpose what I was doing, both in the clinic, in training, in every aspect of my life. And, one of the things that, I think this will resonate with most of you is what you do the most for most of us is work. And as much as I love working and being dialed in with that, if I'm not on fire, it tends to affect every other aspect of my life. And in the last couple months, I started really resonating with the words of, business coach, motivational speaker, and influencer, Andy Elliott. And I started really, digging deep in that. And I got my regular go-to guys that I listen to their podcasts to stay sharp. And I just started realizing that I was slipping with regards to a lot of the little details. And, I don't care what type of business you do. The reality is when you start cutting corners, and this goes back to your grade school and high school, college, and pro coaches that, when you start cutting corners and showing up to practice 5 minutes, early instead of 20 minutes early, or God forbid on time, or leaving, right at the end of practice and not getting in that extra work, you will start to slip. You will start to lose your edge. And I was finding myself in that position. And I know I like to relate a lot of my coachable moments back to sports because I spent a quarter century or literally half of my life working with athletes. And as an athlete myself, I always probably got the most impactful changes in listening to people telling me to, reach your potential, stay on task, stay focused. And this was something that I felt that was imperative. And that's why I was really looking, closely at my man, Andy Elliott, and what he was doing and his team and everything around him. And I really thought, I'm looking forward to it. Actually, I'm attending one of his coaching events and looking forward to it because I started watching the detail that he puts in and, his intensity. I mean, listen, he calls people out for lack of fitness, but really it's more a lack of commitment, right? And if you're not dialed into yourself, how could you really truly be dialed into, your business or your personal life, family life, et cetera? So, I definitely can relate to that. So one thing that I saw that I was blown away with is that when I saw that downswing with regards to production in the clinics, it was affecting me, in the gym, with regards to my food prep and nutrition. And, I think that's one thing for people that are loyal listeners, if they're watching my Instagram stories and my posts, I am big on posting my recovery, my fitness, my nutrition, and I tie across my business pages, what I do in the clinical space, whether it's, working in the HRT, TRT realm or working with the physical medicine in regards to chiropractic, physical therapy, or the adjunctive medicine we do, the amazing company I work with in MedRay Laser and Technology, or Pulse PEF. My girl Stephanie out there, big shout out for her. She's always got my back, as well as Cryoscience and my guys at Mark Pro. And, I think one of the big things is that I was not really looking in my backyard and seeing what I had. And, a good buddy of mine said, hey, you're all over the place right now. You're really starting to hit on social media. And I was like, hey, I'm looking for something new. And he actually scolded me and it hit home. This was probably about a month ago. He's like, dude, you got to look closer. You could be, really monetizing what you're doing based on what we see out there in social media. And, it goes back to the old saying, the grass isn't always greener. And I've created, so many great relationships with companies that I started saying, hey, you know what? let me advance my coaching. Let me show people my skill set on that and how I not only bring hope to people, but we actually give them, real, visible and palpable and, results that they want to, put out there and give us these awesome written or, vocal testimonials that we can share with other potential future patients of how effective the treatment and the, the methodology of how we approach injuries. And I was, blown away by really taking a closer look and saying, hey, listen, the guy in the mirror has worked his ass off, and I went out there as an outlier and did stuff a lot of people weren't doing and made it mainstream. And, it's not always going to be that, patients are banging down on the door, to get in, because unfortunately we still live in an era where people are going by what's covered, versus what's best for them. We have a physical therapist in our family with MedRay Laser and Technology. And what I mean by that, like he owns our products, and he does a great job down in South Jersey, down by Philly, preaching that his results are not limited or directed or governed by health insurance. That's why he stepped out of all plans. His results are driven by his knowledge, his equipment, his efforts, and that should be compensated based on what he feels he's worth. And, I started really listening to a lot of these people and saying, what am I sitting here trying to create something new? Why shouldn't I go back to the basics and really try to lock in on things that I can do and do at a very high level? And so, we're working with a few practices right now coaching. We have 4 practices going, coaching them on the sciences, which we use in our clinic every day. And one thing that I've been taking on and just really helping people out is talking to them about food and nutrition. It's something I've done in my clinical practice, where we've had the blessing of treating somewhere between 18 and 20,000 patients now over, the few decades we've been in practice. But, now in the performance space, getting ready for my first fitness show at 50, it's wild the effort that goes into the food prep, the determination, willpower to eat when you're not hungry. I've always been a good eater, but it's been, 3 times a day. Now I eat 3 times before 9 a.m. And, but what I remind myself when I'm going through the grind of preparing it or eating the food or getting the task done at hand is that consistency is what's going to pave the road to success. And the more consistent I am, the greater my odds are of being successful in achieving the list of accomplishments that I want to check the box for in the weeks, months, and years to come. One of the exciting things, I got pulled into a new wellness practice up in Old Bridge Township, and I can't wait for that to launch next month. And I'm excited because being in 2 counties, it's neat to have 2 different businesses that don't compete with each other and having the ability to grow them simultaneously. And the population which that's in is very different. It is amazing how there's a community there. And I know my boy Mo at Athletic Freak always talks about a community with his brands. But there's one thing that's amazing when you could see it grow organically. And I will say that gym does an amazing job of drawing in weightlifters of all shapes and sizes and cultural backgrounds and socioeconomic backgrounds. But the one common thread is that they work hard and they're all into fitness and bodybuilding, which I think is going to be an excellent land for the business opportunity that I got pulled into recently. But again, back to what I found to be my breakthrough in staying sharp in the fourth quarter is looking at my team every single day. We recently added a physical therapist to our, or I should say brought back physical therapy into our Red Bank practice for Velocity Performance and Sports Rehab. And Dr. Ryan is absolutely special. He interned with me when he was doing his prereqs for PT school, and then went on his own for a little bit, and he was working for a big practice and just circled back to our practice. And I have to tell you, it's like having, family come home. And one of the things that I promised him was that I would teach him to be an expert in the diagnosis, usage, and, the outcomes, the clinical contraindications of all the devices we use, so that he could have the ability to help patients, get them to another level, and then create another earning stream for him as well, because these sciences and technologies are not only an amazing benefit to the patient, but they're a great way to give your practice a greater value. And I think that he gets it. It resonated with him. And, I look forward to seeing him really master the arts and skills that we're teaching him as the days and weeks go on. The biggest thing that I saw, and it really hit me last week, was I've always said that, whether it's, the winter months or the summer months, there's always times. And this year, obviously, the elephant in the room up to early November was the election, and the world had came to a screeching halt. And, one thing that I learned from, my father-in-law, who's my mentor in chiropractic and business early on in my career, was not to bring, business, politics, or religion into the clinical practice. But, when everything had been going on, just the observation to see the landslide victory that President Trump had, it lets you know that the world, at least the United States, is looking for change, and people and demographics and sides that you wouldn't have expected for him to win their vote saw him as the best candidate in that situation. So at any rate, I think that it tells you that, just like life, people are looking for hope, a second chance, or, kind of turn the page mindset. And that's really what I did with, October, November. And as we, are kind of circling into Thanksgiving, I couldn't be more thankful and grateful for having that resurgence and reboot, if you will, going into quarter one of 2025. And I'm more energized, more focused, and more locked in than ever. And I think that comes from, constant reiterating of my daily rituals and routines, my goals, my to-do list, my wish list. And I think most importantly, something that I got from my wife probably 15 years ago, the vision board, which was from the, world-renowned book, movie, and, all over the internet, The Secret. And visualization is an amazing tool of seeing what you want, feeling it, embracing it, touching it, write it down, and then watching it happen. So I just kind of put all this into play, and I'm blown away with the success and the experience I'm getting. So I love these power podcasts, because I love to capture your attention for anywhere from 8 to 15 minutes and really just tell you, hey guys, you need to lock in. And, somebody like myself that people see as laser focused and constantly on it and very consistent, even I lose my way. I lose my path. I lose my motivation. I lose my fire. But, I tend to find it very quickly, because I have that success and accomplishment barometer that goes off on me like a check engine light. And if I'm not hitting my marks and hitting the measure that I've set, I am genuinely disappointed with myself. And, I hold myself accountable for that. And I believe that by kind of refocusing and listening to the Bedros and the, Alex Hormozis and the Andy Elliott's out there of the world that are doing it at a remarkably high level, it makes me realize, especially Bedros really hit home, because I think that, he was addressing a lot of things that what the people are, what we're all feeling, what I'm feeling, what the economy's feeling, what other practitioners and healthcare providers and businessmen and women out there are feeling. And that it makes you realize that it's normal to feel like you're going backwards, but the reality is you have to keep pushing forwards. And if you're going to fall forward. Don't fall back, right? Land on your feet, falling forward. Land in a crouch so you can come up running and fighting and pushing forward. And that's really the kind of the mindset I've taken, the approach I have taken. And, I spend a lot of time in the social media space, not only creating social media, but I love seeing people out there, whether they're powerful actors. If you ever have an opportunity to see Denzel Washington speak on any of his interviews or motivational speeches, he is absolutely impressive. And for me, I love to pull these pearls from different powerful orators or speakers, communicators, because I think the power of language is underrated for most. They don't understand how important it is to hit emotional spots in people to elicit the response and the outcome that you're looking for. And I know early on in my life, I did a great job of pissing people off. And so I think that I've seen both sides of the spectrum. But as I age and I'm showing my new silverback beard here, comes wisdom. And I really practice, what I preach with regards to working on communication to get desired outcomes that I need to achieve the goals, dreams, and measurables that I'm looking to do on a daily basis. So at any rate, we're coming up, quickly on Thanksgiving. So I'd like to wish all of you a happy and healthy Thanksgiving. I know for me, I was beyond grateful. I got to spend an early Thanksgiving with my mom yesterday. She was at my house for the first time in a very long time. So I was blessed to have my kids, my wife, my mom and dad here, and, just a quiet day celebrating, being thankful and grateful for all my blessings and our blessings. And so with that being said, happy Thanksgiving. If you found value in today's podcast, please share it, like it, and forward it on to your friends. We'll talk soon.